You tell me what you do, I still don't know what it means because you're just like, "Ooh, really technical jargon, blah, blah, blah." And like I said, I don't really care. I mean, I want you to be comfortable talking with me, but I don't need to know the ins and outs of your job, usually for the interview. That's not what I'm talking to you about. So let's skip the fluff. You just get that icebreaker out of the way and you get all warmed up talking about you. But let's reserve the time, the very limited time that we have, to talk about what I'm here to talk about because I'm making it about me.
I mean, it's all about you. That's how this works. You're a UX researcher. We know this.
Get the info. Give me all the info.
I'm sorry, I don't care about you. I just want your data. I'm just in it for the data. Sounds so dirty when you say it that way.
I want to share the interview I did for the upcoming conference UXCon, taking place in Silver Springs in October 2025. In this interview with Ash Birk, who is a representative of the conference, I share things like advice I would give my younger self, the importance of building out your network and planting those seeds early for the opportunities that could come down the road, and I know how awkward it is talking to people and striking up a conversation with strangers, but it's so important. And I break down why that's so important in this interview. So enjoy my conversation for the upcoming UXCon conference in October.
Formalities out of the way first.
Sure,
Introduce
no problem.
myself. I'm sure that all the UXCon viewers are tired of hearing about me. Yeah, anyway, welcome, Jen. We're super excited to have you as part of the conference. So, how are you feeling about it?
I am very excited. A few of my friends were speakers last year, Julian Delamatia and Joe Natoli.
Joe.
And I had total FOMO. I think Nikki Anderson was there too,
Nikki,
right?
yep.
Yeah. So I had total FOMO. And I was honored when Yao reached out to me and was like, "Hey, I would love for you to be a part of this conference." And I was like, absolutely. So I am
So much
so
fun.
excited.
Yeah, I really think you'll enjoy it. I've been to a lot of them. This was the only one that I liked. And it was less like work and more like fun.
Yeah, those are the best kind of conferences when it feels like it was more of a good time than a lot of effort going into it.
Right. Which, I mean, okay, let's just give people a brief synopsis of Jen before we get dug into this thing. What is something that you could just kind of throw out there that people can't glean off your LinkedIn profile?
Then, well, I'm on LinkedIn quite a lot, so I am pretty out there. I'm a user experience researcher via user experience design, via graphic design, via journalism graphics. So had a long winding road to how I ended up in user experience research.
You know what? That just takes us straight into our first section of questions. The path. I was just talking to Dan about this, obviously. This is my favorite part, right? Everybody's got their own story. I know so many people from the Wild West days before it was a UX, and it was really interesting to see barbers and just random people coming from all these different trades, but they figured out how to turn it into UX. So what's yours? How did your experience shape your work from your like early on first jobs?
Sure. Well, my first job was a designer at a newspaper. What that prepared me for was discipline and deadlines. So I designed the B section of the paper, which was the second section, the local section of the paper. And there would be times my front page would be totally ripped up at the last minute. They would say, "Hey, we need your lead image," or "We need to take your lead story and put it in our section." I'm like, "Oh gosh, okay." So I had to redesign very quickly, and it had to be done that night because if it didn't, it would hit the press with a big hole, big white page. Not acceptable, right? So that is something that journalism taught me was tight deadlines, get shit done, keep moving, and think on your toes pretty quickly. But I also had a foundation of writing, editing, design, a lot of visual design, a lot of asking questions. Though I was never a reporter, I definitely had to take a lot of reporting classes and learn how to write really well. So much of that journalism background really prepared me for a future in user experience.
Okay. I can tell why you and Joe are friends. I get more of the same energy. Yeah. Okay. So that being said, then if you had to look at one career defining moment in your UX journey, what would you classify that as?
Here's two. When I changed from design to research. Now, not officially, but when my passion shift, I would say. And I was working at a company that owns a bunch of animal hospitals. I was pretty much the only UX designer there. We had a UI designer, but I was a UX designer. And I got more excitement out of going into animal hospitals, doing ethnographic research, shadowing doctors, figuring out how they were using our software, rather than taking that information back into the office and designing solutions. I had more fun hanging out around the doggos and the kitty cats and seeing those procedures and how things were done and how they were working on the medical records in that environment than figuring out solutions to that. So that was a big pivot moment for me where I really got into the research for the first time. And another pivoting moment, I don't want to offend my design system friends here, but it's going to be not super positive about design systems.
I think I know where this is going.
So I was working at a company where we needed to develop the design system, and I was still a designer back then. And it was all hands on deck. Every designer had to drop what they were working on to contribute to the design system. And I had to design anything that went over the top. So modals, side drawers, toes, pop-ups, anything over the top of the screen. And I had to design it for every state. The visit state, the hover state, the error state, and all this pixel perfection. And I was just like, I don't care. I just didn't care. Pardon again to my design system friends. I just didn't care about all this pixel perfection and all these different states. They're super important, but I didn't love creating it. And that's when a little bit of my passion for design kind of died that day.
I admit that's the one thing that scares the crap out of me is design systems. Every time I have to do them, I'm like, it's like, do I like this? And then as soon as I get away from it, I'm like, oh yeah, of course I do. I feel like it's like spring cleaning.
It's a critical role.
It is.
There are loads of people who really love it. It's just not my thing.
I mean, you have to have such an attention to detail. And besides, there's not dogs and kitties. So,
Exactly.
you know,
Exactly.
no matter how many design systems you do, they don't bring in dogs and kitties for that.
They don't.
They should. That'd be good for productivity.
They would.
All right. So this year's theme, Inspire and Connect. I'm sure you already knew that. So as far as that works, what does that mean in the context of your work?
Yes. So I kind of pride myself a little bit as a connector. And I like to make connections among people, introduce people, expand my network. I understand and really value having a large network of people. What I like about it is I like to not be the smartest person in the room. I never am. And it can be a virtual room, right? It can be your network in your world because I like to learn from others. And so by making these connections, if not for me or connecting other people, I'm nurturing that environment of bringing smart people together. And like I said, usually smarter than me. And I'm cool with that because I have a deep desire to learn from others because there's a lot to learn from other people. I love this theme. And I'll be honest with you, Ash, I've been struggling because it's like boiling the ocean. There's so much to cover, so much I want to say, so much I'm thinking about, bouncing around in my head. What can I say about connections and inspiring? And I'm still mulling it over and thinking about where this talk's going to go. I'm thankful I have a couple months to sort of hone in on what I want to say, but it's just so interesting how much connection has changed, especially since COVID. I would consider myself a pretty extroverted big mouth, but COVID kind of brought me in a little bit and made me a little bit, what do they call it, omnivert or whatever, where you're a little bit of a cross between an introvert and an extrovert. I'd still say that most people would say, Jen, you're a total extrovert. What are you talking about? But there are times where I'm just like, people, I just need a little space from the people.
Yeah, I think COVID had that effect on us. It just everybody got used to not being around people.
True. Yeah, I think
Interesting.
that's part of it. And so because we retracted those extroverts and maybe everybody else kind of did too, it's taking a little bit of learning on how are we going to connect again and how are we going to connect in a world where we're not going in a room together and making those connections sometimes, right? Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't.
I will say this to speak to that, right? I've noticed that when there are real, genuine opportunities to make those connections, not like it, and I feel bad. I'm not going to trash on config anymore, but I hated it. It was like the exact opposite of what we built here, right? What we built with UXCon was very small, it was authentic. Everybody can get to know each other. And I felt like that vibe that you're talking about, that everybody was around each other, but it's not a real vibe to connect. I got that there. I didn't get that in Silver Spring at all. I get it. I love it. Although I think you're an extrovert. I'm just saying. From one extrovert to the next. You're definitely an extrovert.
I am. I'm totally busted. Yeah, I can't hide behind an introvert or even omnivert veil. Like it's all lies. Of course I am.
But there's that social fatigue too. I think that's what it is. It's just our social stamina was reduced.
It really was. You think about a jump rope, right? And you're trying to get into that spinning jump rope. And it's a little awkward going into that circle of people who are already connected. And you just have to force yourself and push yourself to be like, I'm coming in and I'm going to make you introduce yourself all over again. I'm going to introduce myself. Even if you all work together, I'm totally crashing your party.
Yeah.
Because I'm here at these conferences to network and to connect to people. And I don't know if you know this, but that's how I met Yao. I met Yao at UX Insights a few years ago at that conference in the Netherlands. And we've stayed connected ever since.
That doesn't surprise me in the least. Not even a little bit. Yeah, that's where it's at. What's your technique to create those meaningful connections? What are we talking about? Let's talk turkey.
I tell you, but then I have to kill you.
Make it quick.
That might be part of my talk. A million pieces of the talk right now. Is that going to be part of it? I've been really sitting around today thinking about it because I've been talking to Kevin Liang, who's also, and I'm like, Kevin is great. But you know what's funny? I've never met Kevin in person. So, no. But we've stayed connected through the years. He spoke for the group that I co-founded, UX Research and Strategy. And we've talked over video a couple of times, but we've never met in person. So, cross miles, whatever you want to call it, virtual connections can happen. They definitely can. And you can create strong relationships with people you've never met. So my secret to connecting with others, I don't know, I'll say for me, it's being goofy, being myself. Sometimes it's cursing like a sailor. Sometimes it's telling silly jokes. It's being real. And if I'm too extra for you, okay, I get it. I'm not for everybody, but I'm not going to come out of a box like a jack in the box or anything, but I'm going to try to be as real as quickly as possible. It's kind of how I approach relationships.
You and I are going to get along famously. Oh, yeah. That's my strategy. I am known for just busting in and telling an idiotic joke, just making myself look like a complete fool. It works most of the time.
Does. So here's a funny story. Last week, was it last week? 2 weeks ago, whenever it was, recently, I was over in England for a funeral, and it was a lot of people. I'd not met most of these people. I had not met them. And most of them were either Irish or of Irish descent, like they immigrated into England and still pretty much had an Irish accent, held on to their Irish roots. And I don't really have a lot of knowledge of what Irish people's culture or approach is to conversations or whatnot. I learned that one thing that was interesting is they would introduce themselves as the connection, the person who died, her name was Noreen, and they would introduce themselves as, I'm Noreen's sixth cousin, blah, 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 blah. Or I live 4 doors down from Noreen in Ireland, blah, blah, blah. Never said what their name was and never asked me what my name was. So that was a cultural disconnect. And I think that that's important to keep in mind too, because we have certain approaches to meeting people that we're used to. And when you don't have that same situation in another conversation, you need to be flexible and adapt to that. That was something that I had to quickly adopt to. However, I didn't just lose who I am. I know it was a funeral, but it was a sad situation. Everybody was kind of I wouldn't say jovial, but they were friendly and wanting to meet people, wanted to share stories. So it wasn't a really depressing situation. It was actually kind of uplifting. And I'm like, I'm going to come in and we're going to tell jokes and talk about the weather and joke about how it's always raining in England and whatnot. And I'm just going to be me. And elevated instantly the rapport with people that I met for the first time ever.
Yeah. All you can do is really be yourself at the end of the day anyway. Yeah. I like that. I always compare it to rappelling. You ever been rappelling? So when you go rappelling, you have to kind of walk yourself out horizontally from the face. So you're perpendicular to whatever you're going down. But then you have to jump. And against every instinct in your body, you're like leaning and you're like, I can't jump. I'm going to die. But you do it anyway, because if you can't walk down, it'll cut the rope. Like it'll damage the rope on the cliff face. So you have to jump out to get that slack. Same thing. Like you're in that social situation. And you're like, all right, I'm going to make a bad joke. I'm jumping. Whatever.
Yeah. And I found that either they were completely overly polite or I didn't offend anybody. No one was like, whoa, I'm not talking to this chick. She is weird. No one treated me that way. It was like, oh, you're funny. Okay, here's where we are, right? And like level set out of the formalities and the stickiness that happens when you first meet someone. And you just like, okay, now we can have a conversation.
Sometimes it's hard to get past those formalities, right? Like sometimes that's just a brick wall and then you lose the connection completely. Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
True.
Let's get in Jen as a person. We're already kind of in a little bit. Let's keep it going. So we're talking about, what do you do? Like your personal hobbies. What keeps you grounded? What makes you the UX designer that you are? UX researcher, sorry. You're not a designer.
That's fair. I will always have a designer heart because I've been designing since forever. So I still do a little design, just not professionally. So what do I do? That's outside of UX? Is that your question?
Yeah.
Okay. A lot of my interests lie in my 2 little doggos, Ricky and Sadie, and they're very ornery and they remind me we need to get away from my desk and go for a walk around 5 o'clock in the evening. They don't know how to read time, but I think that they do. Yep. They're like a good break. And they're also, as anyone with pets know, they're very goofy and they provide hours of entertainment, whether they mean to or not. So
what breeds?
They're like Chihuahua mixes. So really little, like 10 pounds. Sadie is a chug, a Chihuahua pug. And then Ricky's kind of a Chihuahua terrier mini Basenji. Even though Basenjis are not supposed to bark, he does all the time.
Yeah, I heard about a Basenji and it didn't. She barked all the time too, but she was half dingo.
Oh, well, okay. But yeah. I don't know. Ricky's just half pain in the ass, honestly. So that's probably the barking part of it.
I got 2 Chihuahuas too. I get it. Yeah, I totally get it. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. They're a handful.
That's something that keeps me busy and out of trouble or into trouble, depending on how you look at it. I also started in the last year a YouTube channel called BlatzChatz, which was not a name I came up with. A good friend of mine came up with that. And I was like, dude, you're crazy. I would never call anything BlatzChatz. And then here I am years later calling my YouTube channel BlatzChatz. So that's been an interesting learning curve because I just turned 50, big old lady here, and I had zero experience with video editing or recording or any of that stuff. And so I'm like, screw it. I'm going to learn new skills. I'm going to learn how to do this. I do everything myself. And a lot of it's really bad and atrocious, and that's okay. They say as long as you improve 1% every time. And I like that approach because it doesn't feel like so overwhelming that, oh, I gotta be professional and excellent this next video. Nah, I'll just improve a little bit every time. And I think that's a really good life approach that I wish other people would understand and adopt a bit more.
Literally exactly what I tell my students when I teach parkour. I got kids that come in, they can't jump on a box one day. And then, I'm like, just give me a little bit more. And then in a year, they're doing all that stuff. It's like, look where you were a year ago. Just a little bit. That's all it takes.
True.
I love that. I think BlatzChatz a great name. I'm just saying.
Well, thank you.
It's like the Macho Man Randy Savage of YouTube channels. I love it. It just catches.
Don't jump off the corner of a wrestling ring. Sorry to disappoint.
I mean, the day is still young.
That's true. I didn't say I would never do that. I said I don't.
There we
We'll
go.
see.
What you didn't know is that UXCon is actually a hardcore WrestleMania.
Oh, God.
I did have one guy ask me about a hot dog tasting contest or a hot dog tasting thing at the last one. He's like, is this a hot dog tasting thing? No.
Oh,
But yes.
that's on Long Island on 4th of July, the hot dog eating contest?
I have no idea what it was. He just asked me about hot dog tasting. Like,
Interesting.
I was like, you should go try anyway. Maybe there's hot dogs. Just ask Yao if there's a hot dog. Okay. So you and me, we're about the same age. You know, you can look back in retrospective. You're looking back at your younger self. What are you going to tell her?
Whew. What are we going to tell her? Chill out. No. Yes. Chill out. No. That's a good question. What?
And thank Yao for that one.
Screw you, Yao. That's a tough one. Hate tough questions. What would I tell my younger self? You don't know where you're going to go. You don't know where you're going to be. And that's okay. You're going to have some pivots. You're going to change careers. Life's going to throw you curveballs. And you will make it through that. And it relates to that question, a similar question. Oh, where do you see yourself in 5 years? I always hated that question because I always would say, hey, I never thought I would be living in California or Texas. I never thought I would work at a law firm. I never thought I would work at a finance company or 2 or 3 or 4 and being a researcher. I didn't make a path for me. Paths just came before me, right? Maybe little decisions I made along the way helped guide whatever aura guides me wherever. But if you ask me the question where I see myself in 5 years, I have zero answer for that. And I'm okay with that because sure, it's good to have goals, but I don't want to pigeonhole myself to be like, I got to be working there. I have to be living there, or I have to have that amount of money or whatever it might be. I know that whatever comes my way and I navigate that, I'll just get to where it goes because it's probably the way I'm supposed to go anyways.
Yeah, at the end of the day, you make those projections, you get it, and then you're like, yeah, I didn't really want it anyway. I feel like that's the way it always is with me. I got it.
I mean, there are some people that are really like, oh, I want to work at Facebook or whatever they want to do. But what are you missing if you've got this eye on the prize? What opportunities are you missing on the sides that you could have been like, oh, we're going over here. Seems like we're over here. I'm always willing and able and ready to just, we'll side path for a little bit. I'm going to generally be on this road, but you just don't want to miss those kind of little side fun things by being too focused.
Yeah, the serendipity of it all, right? I find that the best experiences I've had were just, hey, look, what's that thing? You never know. It turns out to be the coolest thing ever. It's just the way it goes. I'm not going to say what in the next 5 years are you planning. What are you excited about? Like next steps, what are you thinking?
Just in life in general?
Sure.
Next steps. What am I thinking? I'm really not. Where do I want to be next year? What goals do I have for next year? I'm really shit at making goals and trying to get to something, which you're like, you've done pretty well for yourself. How could you not have had goals? I just don't. I don't set, I want to be working here. Like I mentioned, right? This is part of the problem. I'm so caught up in the day-to-day minutia and getting all the shit done. I don't give myself time to explore and think about the horizon.
You can expect my therapist bill later. We're uncovering truths about Jen.
Yeah, I'm actually a hot mess all over the place. I don't have any goals or like future or anything. Just
He's day by day. See what happens. I don't know. It's fair. That's fair. Oh my gosh. This has been probably the funniest one I've done yet.
I told you.
Kevin's a pretty funny guy, though. He could give you a run for his money. That's the thing that I love about everybody. I always talk about the Cowboys. I don't know if I brought this up yet. The people that were in UX before UX was UX. I love the Cowboys, right? Everybody came in from all these weird angles, different backgrounds, and yours and Dan was in fashion, and everybody's just got this, but it all comports.
Yeah.
My sister's, she's a recruiter. She's always harping me about transferable skills, right? And UX is probably the one place where that matters the most. Anything else, it's like, do you know how to do this thing? No. Okay, well then, yeah. But it's like, do you know how to think this way? Yeah. I've done that before playing tennis or whatever. Cool. It works. Do it.
I think that's true, especially if you're working in different industries in UX, right? Like your UX skills can apply to any industry. I told you I worked for pet health and now I'm in finance, and I was also in security, and I was also in data storage. Didn't know anything about any of those industries whatsoever. You can learn the industry, but those skills as being a strong UX person can apply to no matter what the industry that you're solving problems for.
And that's the coolest part about, I think, what we do is it's literally everything. It's so cool. And I don't remember who I was talking about this, and this might resonate with you. I want to say it was Calvin, that thinking about networking in a UX context, using that same empathy and that same process, it's like word for word. It's the same thing.
Ash, I mean, that was another angle I was thinking about for my talk. Thank you very much. So there goes that one out the window.
Just make sure you give me credit.
Okay, yeah, I didn't. Okay, I didn't have this idea, but then Ash mentioned it. Of course, I had to do it after he said.
I thought about writing a blog about it myself, but I was like, I'll wait. Got too much on my plate right now. Now we know it's a good idea.
I was thinking about that, right? UX skills are so broad, and so many of the skills that we use in our job is very applicable to networking, building relationships. I have this little YouTube video that I did, is the first question you should ask in a research session, interview, to build rapport. And what that is, I'll spoil it and tell you what the question is. Instead of asking somebody, what do you do? Like, what is your profession or whatnot? I don't like to ask that because honestly, I don't care. It's just an icebreaker, usually. And I don't like to ask it because then they tend to go into the weeds and use a bunch of technical jargon. And I'm just like, oh God, you just wasted 10 minutes of my time on what you do, which I really don't care. So the question that I like to ask is, talk to me like I'm a 10-year-old and tell me what you do. And that really brings it down to a simpler, shorter, understandable conversation. And often I had somebody say, oh, how could you ask that? That's so condescending. And I'm like, you're full of shit. That question makes people chuckle a lot of times. And they're like, haha, I know a 10-year-old. I know what you're talking about. Our rapport instantly is stronger because I made them laugh on the first question.
I'm a brain science nerd. The amount of like neurotransmitters that trigger when you laugh are insane. And yeah, that's how it works. It's surprising that someone would say it was condescending for you to say that. It seems like it would be backwards, right? Like you're the one who wants it to be trained like you're a child.
I was surprised as the interviewer, me asking that question. I was surprised. They're like, why would you ask that? That's quite condescending. You're making them feel like a child. I'm like, okay, I appreciate your perspective on that, but you're wrong. Sorry. I have never had anybody taken aback. I mean, they're a little shocked, like, oh, first instance, like a 10-year-old. Oh, I didn't see that coming. But I've never had anybody like negative or why would you ask that? Or I'm not a 10-year-old. I've never had a negative response to that question.
Yeah, that makes you laugh. I had for one of my data visualization classes, I explain to me like I'm 10 how to make this data visualization. And it worked.
It's so critical when you're talking with professional and highly technical people. Because a lot of times as an interviewer, you tell me a job title, I don't know what that means. You tell me what you do, I still don't know what it means because you're just like, really technical jargon, blah, blah, blah. And like I said, I don't really care. I want you to be comfortable talking with me, but I don't need to know the ins and outs of your job, usually for the interview. That's not what I'm talking to you about. So let's skip the fluff. You just get that icebreaker out of the way and you get all warmed up talking about you. But let's reserve the very limited time that we have to talk about what I'm here to talk about because I'm making it about me.
It's all about you. That's how this works. You're a UX researcher. We know this.
Here to get the info. Give me all the info.
I'm sorry, I don't care about you. I just want your data. I'm just in it for the data. Sounds so dirty when you say it that way. Yes, we are going to have some fun. Okay, so we'll wrap this thing up before we start taking our shirts off here or something. So if you had to leave our audience with one powerful insight, what are you thinking?
Insight.
Like one message you want to send our UXCon attendees?
I would say when you're at the conference, this is really important. Break free of the shackles that I'm awkward, I'm an introvert, I don't know what to say. I want you to take advantage of the whole day and meet people. And don't go in meeting people to get a job. Sorry, this is not going to happen. There's probably going to be a lot of either junior people or other people looking for a job or people who don't have a job to offer you. That is not what networking is about. And I want you to go in thinking from day one, from the minute you sit down, do not get out your phone and start looking around. Talk to that stranger next to you and then talk to this stranger and then get up and move and sit in a different seat and talk to those two strangers because your purpose at a conference is twofold. to learn from the speakers and from the day's events and to meet other people. And I want to give you a number and say, don't you come out of there without 10 LinkedIn connections or business cards or phone numbers or whatever that might be. That's not fair, but it better be at least 10. But just go in knowing that everybody else hates to approach others and talk to strangers, and do it anyway. Do it anyway, because I can tell you from experience, I have received a job from my network, and I have given a job or made the introduction that got that person's job from my network. And it wasn't because I met them that day and got the job. It was this built relationship that worked through years or months, and the opportunity just came up. And so make sure that you're kind of planting those seeds for those future opportunities, not just thinking about, oh, I need a job today. And what kind of relationships could you build for the future? So that is my number one takeaway. I don't want to see anybody sitting on their phone, scrolling through, farting around. I want you putting yourself out there, being awkward, and meeting your future network.
I love that. Yeah, it's a long game, and you really have to go into it. I admit, I early on started with I want to go in there and meet my job person.
That
got dispelled real quick.
You're not. That doesn't mean that job person might not be your job person in 5 years.
Absolutely.
You don't know. I have a connection who I just met through Twitter. I would repost his tweets. He would see my tweets. And then I started hosting conferences, and he's like, hey, can I come speak at your conference? And I was like, well, I don't have any money to fly you here. And he was like, okay, never mind. But we made connection, and we were connected only virtually for years. And then when he went to a company, he's like, hey, I'm looking for a researcher. Would you want to come on my team? We never talked about jobs or any of that. We just followed each other on social media for years. And then the time came that he was thinking about who are researchers or who is somebody I might want to have on my team. I popped in his mind, and I went and worked for him. That is the nurturing that I'm talking about.
You know what? That reminds me of a story. I'd completely forgotten about this. You might get a kick out of this. So I was doing a game show for Google CX. They came in with the shirts, and I see that. I'm like, Google CX, huh? I'm a UX designer. And I don't think it clicked for him at first. Their CX is not customer experience. It was circuits. They work with hardware. They don't even have anything to do with our end. So I don't think they completely computed what I was saying. So we did the game. I was their host, and we had a blast. We had so much fun. And when they told me the circuit thing, I'm like, oh, that was fun. Okay. And I made some jokes about it, and we had fun. And then by the end of the game, one of the guys came up to me. He pulled me aside and he said, hey, man, is it okay if we poach you? And I was like, what do you mean? He said, from here, like from the game show place. I'm like, dude, my boss isn't going to care. We're good. We're not even closely related. And he goes, actually, so we have this interface that we're working on, and we don't know anything about it. We don't know anything about interfaces. We were sitting there while we were playing the team with the manager, discussing how we could figure out how to slot you into a role here because we like you. We just need you on our team. And I was like, great. This is awesome. And we linked up. It ended up, the thing didn't work out. The project got transferred or whatever, but that's a solid connection I have now. And I have another one with the growth department at Nationwide. Same story. Not because I came in like, oh, I'm looking for a job. I just cracked some bad jokes. Literally. That was it. And now I have a connection.
Yeah.
It's a long game, and I get it. Juniors can get I'm a junior, sort of. It gets frustrating, but you just got to be ready for that long haul.
Yeah, it's true. And I know it's even more frustrating now. The job market is really shit. It's tough to break in as a junior or transfer from another discipline. Even as a senior, there's so many layoffs, there's so much competition. And I hear you. now is a good time to form some camaraderie with folks that are like you and build those connections. And hey, maybe that job offer didn't work out for me. I got turned down, but hey, this hiring manager was really cool. Why don't you reach out to them? That's also happened to me, where a good friend of mine interviewed at a company and he told me all about it, told me the questions, and he didn't get the job. And I interviewed. I didn't get the job either, but at least we helped each other out. And I think that the UX community is so full of that. And that's a good mindset to be in. Just go in thinking, who can I meet? Who's super cool? Now, here's a funny thing. Like you, Ash, I grew up in the Midwest, and a big part of that was going to theme parks. And when you go to a theme park and you're in the line for a roller coaster, it can take 2 hours. And I remember my dad was sitting on a bench waiting for us to come back from the ride. And I came back and he'd sit next to this stranger, Scott, and he was like, all right, Mom, my kids are back. And, I'm like, whoa, why are we talking to that guy? He's that guy. And he's like, who does it matter? You never know who you're going to meet. And if nothing else, it passes the time. And nothing else, you have an interesting conversation and you learn about something new and you learn about that person. And what harm is there in that? And that being instilled in me as a little one, I've carried that lesson through for my whole life. As sitting on an airplane, if somebody seems like they look a little chatty, chat up with them. I'm not saying hit on them. I mean, have a conversation. And before you know it, you're landing. And I'm like, this is great. You just killed 2 hours for me. And this was the fastest flight ever. Think about those opportunities of having conversations while you're like stuck sitting there, feeling awkward and weird. We are UX folks. We are supposed to be curious. We should be curious about human beings in general, not just who we need to study or our participants.
I couldn't agree more. Humans in general. Who are our users? Humans. Unless you make a dog app, which would be cool. How do you do user research on a dog?
Well, one of the apps that I was working on at the animal hospital, it was a check-in app for when you checked into the vet. And it is an iPad. Oh, look, I got fancy stuff.
I don't know what that was, but it was awesome. It was like, did I do that?
Good. Anyway, I love these things that happen when I'm move my hands too much. The internet's like, you need to simmer down. Get those hands down. Anyway, it was an app where you were checking in your pet and you would take a picture of it with an iPad and you'd push a button and go woof, woof, woof. Like it would bark so that the dog would look at the camera so that you could take a picture of your dog. So we were testing what sounds would attract dogs and cats so that we could take their picture with the iPad.
Was it crinkling plastic?
I can't remember. Like there were squeak toys, and I don't remember doing it for cats because cats ain't got no time for anybody. So I don't know if that worked for cats, but I remember there were a few, like a little dog, a big dog, a squeaky toy. I can't remember all the different sounds that it had, but we were like, what would, because a squeaky toy will work for some dogs, but not others. A little squeaky sound like a squirrel. You know how killer squirrels are always out there tormenting all the poor dogs.
Yep.
So you can test with dogs. Dogs can be users.
I am so cool with that. I love dogs. I got 4 of them. All right, let's wrap this thing up before we get too crazy here. How can people get a hold of you?
How can they get a hold of me? I am Jennifer Blatz on LinkedIn. That's a good place to connect. And please do connect. I love to meet new folks all the time. And you can watch me on BlatzChatz if you are down with this kind of silliness and goofiness.
Cool. I've watched it. I've already stalked you a little bit, so.
So yes, feel free to check out either my videos where I'm talking about stuff or my interviews with other UX pros on BlatzChatz on YouTube.
Definitely. Cool. All right. Well, Jen, that was a lot of fun.
Thank you, Ash.
Yeah. Super fun.